Been looking forward to today for many, many, many months. About 18 months ago, Peter said, Stuart, who's over there, who was the chairman of Hope Exchange, and Peter came to chat to me, and I can't remember the exact wording, but essentially it was kind of, what would joining forces with Hope Exchange look like for U-Turn? And it was sort of tiptoeing into the space, I suppose. And of course, at U-Turn, we really, really do believe that if we are going to create pathways out of homelessness that are effective and are properly accessible, and if we're going to turn those pathways into highways, which we need to do, so that ultimately nobody finds themselves trapped on the street without a way out, we have to do it in collaboration. We have to partner, and we have to all get on the same page. So partnership doesn't always look the same. I'm honored today to have many of our partners represented. I can see one of my best friends, Shadi Valaydam, there at the back from Haven, and I saw Patrick earlier from Haven, and Ilse, also one of my best friends, Ilse Martins, from Mess. I don't know, did Yessie come? Oh, there we go. Streetscapes is here. Megan's here. Fiona's here from the city. And others. Sorry if I'm missing you. But it is beautiful to see so many of our friends here, so many of our partners. And some of you have sat with me late at night over a cup of tea or something stronger and plotted and schemed about how we are going to increase the pathways out of homelessness in the city. How we are going to make our services more effective together, how we are going to throw open the doors and turn the pathways into highways so that nobody should be trapped on the streets. Really, because I think all of us see the value of every single person. We look at a person, whether they're housed or unhoused, whether they're smartly dressed or lying on in the gutter, and we say, we see your value. We see you as somebody made in the image of God, somebody who's precious, and we also see your potential to flourish, that you don't always have to be just queuing up at a soup kitchen, but you have the ability to take charge of your life and to flourish and to be more than you are today. And so this discussion, partnership is really, really important, but this discussion that we had with Peter and Stuart was in some ways a lot more deliberate, a lot more, it was kind of more like a marriage, as Peter said. It looked like that. And as we talked, I said, well, I think it could be many things. We're trying to imagine what it might be. It could be anything from let's run a program together all the way through to let's entirely merge the two organizations. Or any shade of yellow or green in between. And as we talked about it, a story or a model began to emerge. We didn't want to force it into one box and say it has to be this way. This is the only way U-Turn works, or this is the only way that Hope Exchange works. We wanted something that would be a win-win. What excited me about this conversation from the beginning was not that Hope Exchange was not running out of money. This was not a, we are sinking, rescue, U-Turn, can you rescue us conversation. There was no need for rescue. There was no selling of the soul of Hope Exchange in order to survive. In fact, the Hope Exchange was and has been in a particularly stable financial position. It was really that Stuart and Peter recognized that they could be much more effective if they teamed up with U-Turn. And I recognized immediately we could be a lot more effective if we teamed up with Hope Exchange. And that was a beautiful thing about our conversations. One of the first things that I said one of the first things I was told when I came to U-Turn, in fact, John told me this, that Jeff Burton House, which is the shelter or the second phase shelter at the back here, is one of our preferred shelters as U-Turn to refer people into. Because it has one of the lowest relapse rates of any of the shelters we work with. And there was a story about one particular year that we had among people we were working with a really, really high relapse rate over the Christmas season. And that year, not one of our champs who was living here at Jeff Burton House had relapsed. And so I was kind of set up, I suppose, right from the beginning internally with this immense respect for this organization of Hope Exchange. And one thing I felt strongly and expressed strongly was that whatever the future would hold for our two organizations working together, that the name and the story and the legacy of the Hope Exchange should not be lost. Over the past 25 years, and especially in the last 5 years, U-Turn has grown very rapidly. Many of you will know that. We've developed into one of the most celebrated, I suppose, models of homeless rehabilitation, not only in this country, but more and more worldwide, being seen more and more as the gold standard of homeless rehabilitation. And yet it is not our intention, has never been our intention, and will never be our intention to eclipse the name or the outstanding reputations of any of our partners. The Hope Exchange, and Jeff will talk about this a little bit more, but the Hope Exchange was founded by Jeff Burton in 1981. In those days, as we know, was the carpenter shop, which I got to know the organization a little bit by reputation when I was a young adult. And I found this a beautiful juxtaposition of the name of carpenter shop, of the sense of spiritual renewal, and the practical skills training of what was done here in this hall. And I still remember walking through here many, many years ago when all the woodwork machinery was here. I hope I'm remembering the correct space. And so for 44 years, this place has been a beacon of light to countless numbers of people caught in homelessness in the city who have found hope and a future here. Some years ago, the carpenter shop was renamed the Hope Exchange. And in my understanding of that, Jeff was saying to me earlier, has Peter explained to you the whole renaming process? And I know Peter has, and I can't remember all about it, but I do know the sense of the Hope Exchange is the sense of practical hope. That's how I certainly understand it, of people coming here to exchange what is hopelessness for hope. And over the years, this ministry that's been here has become recognized, one of the most widely recognized and highly regarded organizations in the homeless sector. So we recognize really all of that, and we honor all of that. So over the past few months, as the U-Turn leadership has talked to the Hope Exchange leadership, we came down to this decision to merge the operations of the two organizations, to retain two separate legal entities, to retain the name of Hope Exchange that was never really up for discussion in my books. It was always going to be Hope Exchange. But then to operate Hope Exchange under the auspices, under the model of U-Turn. And we called that agreement a joint operations agreement. And from the time we began those talks, I was excited about the prospect of merging operations, really for three important reasons. Firstly, because of the opportunity to work with such a renowned, well-respected, well-run organization like Hope Exchange, and with Peter and with his team. He has a highly skilled team of leadership and staff. And like Peter and Stuart, I certainly believed that we could leverage the strengths of both organizations by joining forces, and together we could provide a more effective, more accessible service to people trapped in homelessness in the city. Secondly, I was excited because as successful as U-Turn has been in so many communities around the city, around the country, we have never had a permanent, proper presence in the CBD of Cape Town, which is the area that homelessness is most prevalent in our city. We've not been able to offer the services of U-Turn here, the pathway of U-Turn here in the city center. And so as U-Turn has become increasingly recognized, more and more businesses, stakeholders of other sorts, even government, have said to us, something you see IDC, you're also here, also a wonderful partner of ours, have said to us, we need U-Turn in the central city, in the inner city, in the CBD. And this was an opportunity for us to be here and to be here in partnership with a wonderful other organization. And then thirdly, I was excited, maybe that's just me, but about the prospect of having all U-Turn's major services operating from one campus. If you know our work, you'll know that in other areas, we're much more sort of scattered. We might have all of our different programs running sort of in a broader geographical area, but in multiple different sites. And Hope Exchange was the first campus. We now also have a Pretoria campus, which is kind of similar, but it was the first campus on which we could bring pretty much everything together onto one site. And we're in the process of that. Okay, so what is going to change? Or as you know, we have been operating already jointly for more than 6 months. So what has already changed? I want to say upfront that all the core elements of the Hope Exchange have remained and will remain. So the ablutions, the car wash, the Jeff Burton House, the Feed 5,000 campaign, the art classes, the barista training, everything that there was is still here. The big changes have been, as we've heard already, the opening of the service center, which operates here from this hall, which is full-day programs for people on the street. So some of those people might be in the safe spaces or they might be in other areas, but instead of needing to spend their day scuttling on the street, able to come and get their services here. And most importantly, the groups we do here, the change groups and the program we do here is designed to help people focus on or think about change, to become ready for change, to become motivated for change. So we do basic needs services here, we do motivation for change groups, we do voucher earning, and we introduce people to a pathway out of homelessness. And then we've introduced the rehab support intervention to assist people facing addiction, which is the majority of people who are on the street, a high percentage of our clients. Thirdly, we've launched the work readiness program, or the personal development team that is here, which is an interdisciplinary therapeutic team, which is headed by Charity, and Charity is going to speak about that just now. And as well as the therapy side, it's the real life work opportunities for our champions on the program. In our shops, we will be adding soon a shop at the coach house in the front and a coffee shop there, but we have a number of other shops, coffee shops, etc., nursery, coding company in other parts of the city. And so at the moment, the champions who are here, who are on that program, are working in other spaces. And then, as I said already, the launching of the coffee shop and the charity shop in the next month. And then there are some parts of Hope Exchange which will shift a little bit in terms of the way they operate. Jeff Burton House, which is the second place shelter, will start to look more like a U-Turn transitional house. Still registered the same, will operate more in a family sense of family. Beautifully built architecturally for that. I need to wrap up, but I want to say this has not always been easy. Among all the excitement and all the buzz, there have been frustrations, misunderstandings, miscommunication, and sometimes complete lack of communication, bruised egos, sometimes a sense of threat, and sometimes a sense of loss. And yet we push through as two teams, and we become one team. And each time I come away from some subjects, I feel it more and more. I felt so much yesterday. Everybody's working together. The team has grown here substantially. I have to actually check, probably almost double numbers, maybe not quite. But there's been quite a substantial growth in the team that operates here. Old faces and new faces, one team, and that's what we're trying to. Your payslip says everybody who works here is part of U-Turn, and everybody is part of Exchange. So to finish, I just want to remind you of this: as U-Turn and Hope Exchange are moving forward together, we're doing this because we share a common vision of helping people trapped on the street or find themselves on the street more effectively and more widely. And secondly, because we believe in collaboration, we believe we are stronger together. Leverage. And so together from this campus, hundreds of people who have found themselves trapped in addiction, homelessness, are going to find freedom in coming years. Hundreds of people who come through these doors are going to be reconciled with family.
Reintegrate them in the community. And I think I'm just going to give a few minutes to Lisa to just briefly take us through the journey of our clients. So, Lisa.
Morning, everybody. I'm not going to keep you long, but it's my pleasure to lead the program's aspect of U-Turn. And you've seen the amazing team, Charity and a team that's operating from here. We've got similar teams across South Africa. And I think something that just really resonates with me is how do we create those pathways? How do we turn them into highways? Just in terms of our program, it's amazing that year, like you heard, it's the first time that we've got all four the different phases on one site. And I think we're learning a lot from that. There's even greater collaboration within our own team in terms of the therapeutic staff and the service delivery staff that you saw on the stage here. And just briefly, first phase intervention, it's where we prepare people to come onto a structured program. And then second phase is where we provide the primary intervention. And all of that is preparing the person to go onto the work readiness program. And then the work readiness program is really setting them up for life. And together we call that the life change program. Because it's taking a person from where they are, seeing them, meeting them there, and helping and assisting them, coming alongside them, taking through the whole journey. And then even as we grow and develop, and as we see the need for tweaks and changes, we even have a great team of ambassadors, those that's gone before, those that have graduated, and they now provide support for those that's making that step to graduate from our program and the support and entering the open labor market. So I think just in brief, that's the 4-phase journey. I'm not going to keep you busy any longer. You met the team here, amazing team. Please take time afterwards to get to know them, to chat to them. Some of them are old faces, Donna mentioned, some of them are new faces, brand new, starting yesterday, but it's an exciting era to be part of this development. Thank you. I'm going to call on Theo. So I've had the privilege of knowing Theo for longer than what he's been connected here at Hope Exchange. And Theo is going to share his story of change, his story of hope. I'm going to leave it up to him to share as much and as wide and as deep as what he wants. He's got 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm so nervous. Yeah, where do I begin? My name is T.H.E. My last known address was Parow, you see, and I've had about 20 something years of on and off active addiction, and my birthday in a few days' time. I turned 40. So what I can say about myself is I started this journey in 2022. I came from one organization into U-Turn, and I was still blind and never minded about my recovery and my walk in life. And because everything was given to me, I was just accepting it and doing what as I please anyway. And there was no actual change within my spirit and within my mind because everything was freely given to me. And once I started in the U-Turn program, I was still, everything was the same, basically. It's just that I was abstinent from drugs and alcohol. It didn't last very long, and then I fell eventually, a couple of months into the program, and the management from the South PDT side basically told me I have to go from phase 3 back to phase 2 because there's something that I missed. So I did as they told me to. I went to Powerhouse, I worked there for a few months, and then I was more in a hurry to get back onto the phase 3 and back to work because my mind was thinking it's December, I need money and all those kinds of things, not knowing that I'm also not ready yet. And then I went back from phase 2 to phase 3, worked at the Claremont branch, and it was another couple of months until I fell on my face again. And after the disciplinary, they told me that you're going from phase 3 to phase 1 because now we know for sure there's something to commit. And then I went from phase 3 to phase 1, and I don't know, my emotions got the better of me, and I could see that I wasn't ready for anything like this. I was just praying, Houston is not right, and this place is not right. And I took myself out of my accommodation that Houston stored for me, and out of an opportunity that they gave me because they wanted to send me to an inpatient rehabilitation to help me. I ran away from all these things, and I spent the entire week of 2023 out on the street. That was the worst time of my life because all I was doing basically was just chasing the next fix because it was cold and stormy. And most of the time I was in the southern suburbs. I was in the areas of Claremont, Wynberg, and those places. And that's the worst place to be because it's always raining and it's always cold. It's close to the mountain. And yeah, there was the hard it was, but it's all things that I brought upon myself in the time that because I just didn't want to listen. They were always saying, you just stick around, come back and do what you need to do. But I did my own thing, running on myself, bro. And recovery tells me now, and also my NA tells me that self-will has to go one side. And eventually when I picked myself up, okay, before I picked myself up, I even had an attempted suicide because I just thought, I'm not worth anything. I can't do this anymore. I kept on blaming people and things and places when in actual fact it was me that was the problem. I then found my way from the southern suburbs to Cape Town, from Cape Town to the northern suburbs, and I went to Mess in Pero. And that's where I found my feet again. And I started working the levels over a few months of this program. I started working the levels of this program. From phase one, I still was hardkoppig. In other words, I still didn't want to listen, still using substance, still doing my own thing, until eventually I decided, no, I have to get myself in order now. And then I was moved from phase one to phase two. And that's when I really started embracing this journey. But now, you guys have to know that I've been on substance for like 20 something years. So it was always a period of me never actually being in recovery. It was always me just being abstinent from those substances and never having a mindset change. And this time around, I actually, because of my brokenness and the attempted suicide, I thought to myself that I need to change my mindset. And that is exactly what I did. I started embracing all the tools that are given to you by the PDT and by the PDT sites, because I was at all three PDT sites before. I was in the south first, and I was in the north. I was at the old central that was in observatory as well, and now I'm at the central, which is upstairs every Monday. You see, so I can't say that I didn't know what to do because I knew exactly what to do. I was taught all these things and given all the guidelines about attend NA, look for outside sponsors, look for people that's going to help you, get an NA sponsor, get accountability people, have your mooring lines and all those things. And in my past, I never used to have those things, or I knew I needed them, but I never used to apply them. And that's what brought me on this roller coaster of up and down all over the years, and not being able to find my feet is because I didn't have my foundation. And that is the point that I'm trying to make. The foundation that is being laid, or that was laid for me, is something that I can actually stand on now. So I got a funny story. I was told I have to keep it short, but I got a funny story. It's not actually a funny story, but it's a funny story nonetheless. So in January, I went from the foundation phase to the growth phase of the work readiness part of my program. So you have to set your goals and things. So I set this goal. I need to get my police clearance, my PDP done. I want to drive a big truck, so I want to get my heavy-duty driver's license for my code 14 and the learners and all those kind of things. And one of the goals were also accommodation. So one of the first things I need to do is go for my police clearance or name check. So I go to Cape Town Police Station, and I have it done, and I pay 85 Rand, and they say, no, come in 3 weeks, and everything will be sorted for you. So Friday, we're sitting here in devotions, and my phone rings, but I can't answer the phone because I'm in devotions. And by lunchtime, I call this number back, and this guy says, Cape Town Police Department. I'm like, okay, sure. He tells me, no, sir, your results are ready. You can come and collect them. And so I take Amanda with me. And when I get there, I sit down, and I'm waiting for them to bring me the paperwork and things. And then they tell me this story that, Meneer Kok, there's a warrant out for your arrest and all these things. I'm like, what? What? I didn't even know of this thing. They say, no, it's a case that you don't know about. It's a case that was filed because your fingerprints that you sent in for the clearance was found in a building that you broke into in 2018. So Paro is on their way to come and get you. Rather give all your valuables and just remain seated. So this is where the mooring lines come in, and this is where my accountability people come. Because the first person I phone is my OT at the back there, Cecile. I'm like, Cecile, there's trouble, there's trouble, and this is the story, and yeah, I'm just letting you know that they're coming to get me. So yes, and the second person I call is my sponsor, my NA sponsor. I'm like, Matthew, this is the story. I don't know what to do, but yeah, this is what's happening right now. The third person I call is my wise counsel or my father. He's my wise counsel, because these are all the things that I'm taught to basically attain while I'm in the program. The wise counsel, the sponsor, and everybody else that is accountable, that hold me accountable for my actions. So I give over my valuables to Amanda. Amanda brings it back and tells the people here. And yeah, I go through to Pero, and I'm nervous and I'm scared, but I also think to myself, this is something that needs to be done, because I did apply for my name clearance. So in order for my name to become clear, this is something that I need to go through. So I lay there the whole weekend, and I'm communicating with the detective, and the detective is communicating with my OT and with my dad and with the people at Loaves also, where I stay at Loaves and Fishes in Observatory, and everybody is giving good reports. And then Saturday morning, my dad comes, then he brings the letter that's a seal typed, and this is my report about my progress and things. And I feel more relaxed, because now I can see there's a lot of people, because I've been arrested many times. I've been to prison a couple of times also. But all the years that these things have happened to me, it was all things that I brought upon myself, and I never got the support of family, because they said, you made your bed, sleep in it. You understand? So this time around, it was a different story, because my dad was there, he was hands-on, and Cecile was there, and she was hands-on, and everybody's praying, and everybody's hoping, and all those kinds of things. And after I saw them on Saturday, I felt peace. So Monday I appear, and I know in the back of my mind, I'm going home. I've got things to do. I have to come and speak here today, because I knew last week already I have to speak. So I knew I'm going home, and I made peace with the fact, whatever comes, I know the Lord is guiding me in this thing. He's not going to put anything on my path that's going to defeat me. Because on the 27th of this year, of March, I'm going to be a year clean of substance. And I'm proud of myself, because I've never achieved this. And thank you. I've never achieved this. I've always said that I'm clean for so long, but then I'm just clean off my DOC, but I'm never clean. I'm still drinking a beer from time to time or something like that, being scallum about it. You see, but for the first time, I can say that I'm clean for a year of mind-altering substances. And I feel I mean, I don't look that fit, but I feel alive, man, because I have this opportunity to tell you guys my story. And my story actually runs deep, because there's more tidbits and things, and even the crime that I was arrested for the other day, it's something that I did under the influence to get high. Even though I was already, I wanted to get higher than what I was. And this is the scallum. Okay? Yes, yes, sir. And this and this was the mindset that I had. So yeah, basically it all boils down to Uton's program works. Uton's programs work. I've been taken out of a very dark pit and given another shot at life. I've done my Heister course license. I'm going to do other courses that are being offered also. But it's all through the grace of God that I can stand here and attest to the fact that this thing does really work. It all depends on the person that is offered this opportunity to just say yes and amen, because that is what is necessary from their side. So, yeah, my name is Theodore Koch, and I'm pleased to have just told you my story.
So our last speaker today is the founder of Hope Exchange, Jeff Burton, and really pleased that he could come and join us and speak to us today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to just tell you the history of this place. The group that I belonged to was all businessmen in the upper part of town, just above Green Market Square. And we used to meet once a week on the 6th floor of the building. And it was a meeting of friendship and Christian fellowship. So that was the founding little body that then decided we've got to do something that is meaningful. And we thought it through, and we decided that we wanted to start a restaurant. That restaurant was founded in Lower Berg Street, opposite Shell House. And it was a small restaurant with some small staff, and it was designed to welcome people in for a coffee or just a chat or a lunch even, but all during the daytime, not at night. So this went along, and very soon I recall that I noticed the place filling up, but not only from business people of that area, but people who came in there for a bit of shelter. Not necessarily the rain, just a bit of comfort. And they would take a seat, and after a short while, they would ask for this, ask for that, sandwich or whatever, and stay for at least a couple of hours, which I realized was not ideal for a restaurant when quite a number of the people attending the restaurant were just sitting there for a couple of hours. So I had one of our group of 10 businessmen, 10, 12, had been in the property industry, and he knew of a place in Rowland Street, 14A. And he said, you know, that building has been vacated, it's not been in use for some years. Maybe it could be of use to you. And I found out that it had in fact been a school. This very building was a 3-story school for the people of District 6. And in 1975, it was closed. Why was that? Well, of course, in those apartheid era, people were shifted to 30, 40 kilometers at least out of town. There weren't any pupils left. So I found out the name of the trustees. This building had been given as a bequest by a woman whose name was Lady Catherine Bell. And she died and bequeathed, I recall, the amount of 500 pounds, British pounds, to build this place. And of course, once it was vacated, nobody sort of knew what to do with the place. The trustees didn't do much about trying to find tenants. So I applied to them. And they said, well, what do you want to do? No, we just want to have a friendly place for people who want to come off the street and spend a few hours and perhaps participate in a program that we are still thinking about. Anyway, they said, well, you can come on trial and let's see what you do with the building. Well, it was completely empty. And even to this day, there were some, or not possibly today, I'm not sure today, but until fairly recently, there was even name tags on a couple of the rooms upstairs saying Standard 2 or standard 5 or whatever. But so it went on, and very soon the numbers increased because we welcomed people. And basically, we did it out of our Christian commitment. So that is where it started, and it started in 1981. We've heard that before. And it went on and on and on. Soon we started an activity which was at that stage panel beating, car panel beating, and teaching that, although in a rather rudimentary way, outside. You can't exactly use a 3-story building for bashing down the car. But it went on, and soon we then decided to build the add-on premises of the garage next door. And that was then when the spraying and so on, which had all been in the open quite illegally, was moved to there. And then we started to teach carpentry. And I'm not going to tell the story. I will tell it another day, perhaps. It'll be too long. How and why it was called the carpenter's shop. You can make your guess. And then, as that grew, the public got to know they could bring in the afternoon normally, because mornings were theoretical training of carpentry, the afternoons for practical. And we developed such that we had two, a morning instructor who was a very skilled carpenter, and somebody in the afternoon who supervised the public bringing broken chairs, tables, whatever, for repair. And many people at that time knew that this was about the only place in town they could get a reasonable repair for some crop old piece of furniture. So it continued then, and eventually, only 5 years ago, it changed its name from the Carpenter's Shop to the Hope Exchange. I'm going to leave to your imagination why it was originally called the Carpenter's Shop and why it was then changed. Well, I'll tell you. It changed because nobody knew really or understood much about the carpenter. And so as people realized that this was a good place to take furniture, it grew and grew. And soon we were sort of able to sign a 25-year lease with the trustees who administered the will of Lady Catherine Bell. And interestingly enough, her brother had Belleville named after her. That's a few years ago, you know, when Belleville was founded. And that is the deep background of how this all started and came about. The period after that developed, and after 34 years of teaching and administering the repairs in the afternoons, which was viable, only just that it was useful, and the public lost that because after 34 years, we decided to close the carpentry section. And the reason for that was basically because it was costing us each month to run the carpentry side. And we felt that was not, at that stage, justified. Yes, I think after that, there was a period when I began to feel that it was time to hand over the chairmanship. So in 1999 it was, I we had been fundraising for some years to find a shelter, a place of accommodation. And in 1999, we built that building. And the people had to qualify, which I won't go into how they had to qualify, but they had to sign a contract for 6 months. And then they were allowed to share with one other person, a male. If they were male, originally there were women, but that was on the one wing. But it changed after time because the demand for male accommodation was so much higher that we decided not to complicate our lives with women downstairs and men upstairs. I think that was something we didn't need. So after some years of doing that, we realized, and all the time, that our most valuable service was the long queue from the ablution block at the back, right round the corner, every day. We were the only place in town that provided, if you queued, a shower, a hot shower, perform your ablutions, and even, the tubs are still there, wash your clothes, hoping that you'll find them again. Anyway, that was a phase when we also realized that we needed some medical attention for certain people. And fortunately, the local hospital, which is closed now, provided us a 1 day a week person to attend to wounds or whatever the ailment was of people in that queue. And even to the extent that we handed out a token which entitled the person who had a shower and been here on a regular basis, had left their detail, to go to service dining rooms. You all know where that is, just round the corner, for lunch. So what more could you want? Accommodation, lunch? No, we couldn't accommodate any more the contribution we made to service dining rooms to provide us with the, well, it was about less than R1, but more recently was. So that carried on and was then discontinued. The 40 years, I felt, was a commitment I had to draw to an end. So in 2021, 4 years ago, I told my other committee members I'm standing down as chairman. What? You can't do that. Well, why? So I said, well, 40 years is long enough, and I'm standing down. No, but I mean, when do you want to go? So I said, well, actually, I just want to not make myself available for re-election as chairman, which in fact I did. And I carried on in the committee for some years, few years. And fortunately, I had come across through one of my sons, Stuart, who took over the chair and who has, in fact, now stepped aside with U-turn coming in. I can remember the day, and I'll finish now, when Sam Foss, who knows Sam Foss? I don't think any, 1-3, came in our gate and said, you know, I'd like to look around this place, thinking of something sort of similar for what reason I didn't know. I showed him around and so on. And then he said, you know, I decided that I'm going to start a new organization called U-turn. And that's how our partner became today part of us. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have that connection. Because when you start something, you've got to know what's going to happen when you pack it in. And that is the essence of any charitable organization, to see that it continues. And I think that's enough from me. I was going to tell a joke, but I don't think I will. The name change did happen in 2022, I think it was, around that time, to the Hope Exchange. And I hope you understand why it's called the Hope Exchange, underline. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff. We're running a little behind schedule, so what we're going to do at this stage is go and do the ribbon cutting in the front, and then we will be serving eats and a light lunch, I suppose, from here, very light. So we invite you to come back, and are we doing the tours as well, Peter? Okay, so there will be some tours going from here, just around the premises. Peter, Charity, who else is... Sorry? Jenny. Oh, yes, where's Jenny? She's our administrator here. So we encourage you to stay for that if you can. But if you will follow us to the front of the building, and we're going to do the ribbon cutting there. Thank you so much.